Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Ellechat. I almost didn't realize that it was 3 o'clock already here in Charlotte because the comment section has been great. So please feel free to continue to do that. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Before we get started, though, I want to make sure that you all can see and hear me okay. So just let me know in the comments if you can. There's about a 30-second lag, I think. So let me know. I know this mic has been a little finicky lately, so I want to make sure that everything sounds okay. While I'm waiting on that, for those of you who don't know me and stumbled into this Ellechat, my name is Lauren Hooker, and I'm the graphic designer and business strategist behind Ellechat. I also blog and coach and have a lot of different aspects to my business, but I started with design and I continue to design for clients, and I love what I do. I also really love helping other creatives take their passion, whether it's photography, design, event planning. No, can't hear me. Okay, let's try this. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's try this again. Oh, sound! Oh, we have sound! Okay, awesome! Perfect. Okay, awesome. Sorry, guys. 5 minutes later, and you can hear me now. Thank you for all of your kind comments. I'm so glad you like my outfit today. Awesome. Okay, the prayers worked, I guess. Thank you, guys. All right. So, with all of that being said, thank you all for bearing with me. I hope you can hear me okay and see me okay right now. All right, trying to get my thoughts back. All right, so glad you're here. For those of you who have no idea who I am, my name is Lauren Hooker, and I am the graphic designer and business strategist behind Company. And I also do coaching now, and I blog. There are a lot of different facets to my business, and if you're a creative entrepreneur, you can probably relate. I love what I do, and I especially love it because I get to work with creatives like you all and help them turn their passion, their lifelong passion, into a business. So I am really excited to talk to you about how to streamline your process today. And this is more geared toward client process, but really this applies to any business process. So with that being said, I'm glad the sound is working now. Just a few more odds and ends before I jump right into the content. For those of you who haven't used Crowdcast before, right below this window, there's a question section. So throughout the webinar, if you come across questions, feel free to leave the questions in there. And the cool thing about Crowdcast, I love this webinar platform, is that you can vote up questions. So if you see a question that you really want answered, you can vote it up, and I'm going to try to answer them in order of the number of votes. You can also comment on them, and there's also a poll in there. If you haven't answered it yet, I would love for you to go ahead and just click a button. That's all you have to do, and answer which part of the client process trips you up the most. Is it juggling multiple projects? Is it meeting deadlines, onboarding new clients, booking clients in advance, knowing how much to charge for your time, or maybe it's all of the above, and that's okay. So just let me know there what is tripping you up the most or what you might struggle with the most. And then, of course, it looks like you all have found the comment section. So feel free to leave comments in there as we go along too. For those of you who are part of the Ellen Company newsletter and may follow me on Instagram, you've already heard this story, but I'm going to tell it again. About 3 years ago, I had a full-time job that was salary and benefits in graphic design, and I decided to leave it to work at Starbucks and freelance on the side. And thankfully, it all worked out, and I got where I am today, which is great. I didn't work at Starbucks for too long, probably 4 months, but what I learned from working at Starbucks is that a streamlined process is crucial to getting really great results and having an efficient workflow. So that's the reason that you can go to Seattle, or you can go to Charlotte, or you can go to Salem, Virginia, where I'm from, and you can order a cinnamon dolce latte, which is Jake's favorite, and it will taste the same almost every single time. And it's because they have a streamlined process and they have it nailed down to a T. And so the same should be true for Starbucks, a big business, but even more so for your smaller business. The more often you follow the same process over and over again, and the more it's streamlined, the more you're going to produce great work, the less stressed you're going to be because you know what's going to come next and you've done it before, and the better results you're going to have, and the more efficient you're going to be. You're going to get quicker every single time. But I should mention and go back to tell you that when I was freelancing on the side, and as I started to get more client work, I had a bunch of panic moments because I struggled with all of the things that I just mentioned in that poll. I struggled with juggling multiple projects. Trying to keep up with several different timelines at once really stressed me out. I struggled to meet deadlines. I would tell a client that I'd have something done by Friday, and I would be up all night and working all hours of the night trying to get drafts done by Friday. I had trouble figuring out how to onboard new clients and get information from them up front to make the whole process easier, and so on. So I understand these struggles all too well. And that's when my husband, Jake, said, hey, why don't you work with one client at a time for 2 weeks and just knock out a full Brandon website in those 2 weeks? And I looked at him like he had lost his mind, because no designer gets a Brandon website done in 2 weeks. However, when I sat down and followed the steps that I'm about to show you in just a few moments, I realized that I could make it work. And from that point on, and I'm not telling you to do a 2-week process. It doesn't work for everyone. But I can say that simply by streamlining my process and writing all the steps out and doing exactly what I'm about to show you, I was able to book more clients. I was able to turn projects around more quickly. I was able to have a lot more peace of mind and a lot less stress. And I started booking more clients and even started a waiting list of hundreds of potential design clients. So a streamlined process goes a super long way. And I've seen this process also work for my coaching clients. So I'm really excited to share it with you today. It's super simple. It won't take much of your time, but it will save you a ton of time and stress in the long run. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen with you and actually walk you through the steps. So feel free to go ahead and open up a browser and follow along with me. Those of you who are on the newsletter list, if you already completed your action step this week, you're a couple steps ahead. Well, we'll walk through it anyway. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Hopefully you aren't getting tunnel vision. And I'm going to open up Trello. Now, you do not have to use Trello for this process. You can use a pen and paper if you want to. You can use Asana. You can use anything else. But the reason that I use Trello is because it's, number one, free, which is awesome. It's really simple and user-friendly once you get the hang of it. And you can, like I'm about to show you in a second, you can add people onto boards. They have a mobile app, so I can pull up what I'm about to share with you anywhere. I don't have to carry around a piece of paper all the time, or I don't have to scan it or type it up and send it to my assistant. I can just add her to the board and everyone can access it all at once. So this is the Trello dashboard. You can see I have a hodgepodge of information, or these are different boards, and I should probably clean it up. I already have a workflow board, but I'm going to start a new board so I can show you from scratch. So I'm going to go to create new board, and if you haven't already, you can go ahead and create an account, like I said, for free. Trello.com, Trello.com, right here. But I'm going to create a new board, and I'm going to call it Workflow. You can name it whatever you want, but like I said, for client packages, or maybe it's coaching packages, or whatever service packages, or just business processes, you can title it accordingly. And you're going to see a big blank screen like this and probably wonder, what in the world am I doing? That's all right. So what I would suggest doing is, if you have multiple service packages, you might list them out here. We're going to start with this first list. So I'm just going to say design clients. I only have one design package, so that makes sense for me. But if I had multiple, I might say package 1, package 2, package 3, or whatever their names are. And these are lists. So we have our board, and then we have different lists. So we're breaking it down organizationally. Board is the big unit, lists are a smaller unit, and now we have cards within these lists. So what I would encourage you to do is to come in here and list out every single step of your process. You may think you already have it nailed down in your head. I'm very much like that. I'm very visual, so I can actually visualize the steps in my head. But writing it out is going to be so beneficial for you, and you'll see why as we continue to move through this. But it also helps you think through which steps you might be able to omit from your process, which ones you could combine, which steps you should be adding in or maybe even delegating to an assistant. So I'll just walk you through kind of what my design process looks like, and we'll hit a bunch of topics throughout this as well. So first, usually it starts with an inquiry. My process does. So I can put inquiry response. That's the first step of my process. Then I go into a client meeting. Usually they want to meet with me and ask me questions about my process, and what my design package looks like, and I get to know them and we talk before they ever book my services. So a meeting. Then we go into the invoice. So I send them an contract before the invoice. So I send them a contract electronically, and I'll go into more detail on all of these in just a moment. But I send them a contract electronically, and right after the contract, I send them an invoice for the deposit. After the deposit has been paid, I send over their client homework as well as a welcome guide, which is just a PDF explaining the process in more detail. Then once they're hopefully working on their homework, sometimes that gets pushed off, and usually there's a few months in between when a client books my services and when we actually start the project, and usually that's good because it gives them plenty of time to complete the homework. But just in case they haven't completed the homework yet, or they need a little bit of encouragement, I go ahead and send them a Starbucks e-gift card. And that's to remind them that their project is coming up. homework needs to be completed beforehand, and it also just surprises them. Who doesn't like a Starbucks gift card? Again, I'm mentioning Starbucks like a million times in this webinar. All right, so after the Starbucks gift card, then we have an initial meeting on the first day of the project or the Friday before the project begins. And then after that, I get to work on their inspiration board. We have revisions on the inspiration board. Then I have logo concepts. Then I have revisions. So you can see how I just go through and list out every single step within my process. And this is just going to be design services. So I would encourage you to do the same. Just first step, just go and have a brain dump of every single step in your process. Now, this could be for your photography business and your different photography packages. This could even be for blog posts. What is the process that you follow to get a blog post up? For me, I have a board for Ellechat to figure out all the prep that goes into it and all the different steps that I need to remember. So as you're going through these, just write them down. Then you can go back and edit them and see where you might need an extra step or what you can be delegating. Now, after you've done this, and another reason why I really love Trello is that you can add files, and you can, on the back end of the card, once you click on it, so here's our inquiry response card, you can edit the description, you can leave comments, you can label it, you can have checklists, all sorts of great stuff. I usually just use these boards as a reference every time, but you can use them however you want. But after you've listed every step of your process, think about what's going to go into that step. What can you prepare ahead of time before the client process ever begins to make your process run more smoothly? So for me, my inquiry response, I would already have an email typed up. So, hi, blank. Thanks so much for reaching out to me about my design services. And then just go into the email. Just as I think canned email responses are really helpful if you're sending the same emails over and over again, but this is going to save you so much time. You can go in and you can add their name, add personal touches to make it seem less like a form email. But by thinking ahead and just leaving a comment in here, you can copy and paste it, and that email will take you a lot less time when someone inquires, and it'll keep you from forgetting some information. A lot of times I'll think, oh man, I needed to send them a link to schedule a meeting with me in that inquiry response. I have to send them another email now. By going ahead and thinking of this ahead of time, I'm not missing any steps. So you can go ahead and leave the email response in here, and I might even go ahead and attach a link to my Calendly account. Now, if you haven't heard of Calendly, and you can use another scheduler if you want to. Calendly, CALENDLY.com, allows you to set up different event types. So I have coaching calls and the like. I can send someone a link, and they can select a day and a time to book a meeting with me. It's really helpful. So if you have trouble scheduling meetings, go ahead and set up a Calendly account. They do have paid accounts depending on what you need it for. They also have free accounts depending on what you need it for. But you can set up the days and times you're available, and that way there's not extra back and forth emails. Someone can just go ahead and set up a call with you. Then they can schedule it in. It automatically schedules it into your Google Calendar. It allows them to set a Google Calendar date. It's really awesome. So I might go ahead and grab my Calendly link and paste the link onto the back of my card. And so that's all ready to go for my inquiry response. Now for a meeting, I might need a follow-up email. So I could do the same thing. Hi, blank. I really enjoyed our chat. And go into, I'm not really great at talking and typing at the same time. Then you can go into the form email and again, save yourself an extra step. Then for the contract, what I would need for the contract is I set up all of my contracts through 17 Hats. And so I don't use 17 Hats as a CRM. I don't keep up with clients in it too much. I used to try to use it a little bit more, and it's not a bad program to use. I've just found other systems to use. But I do love that I can send e-contracts through 17 Hats. And I do love, and I can pull it up here. I also love that people can e-sign. So I don't have to send them a PDF, them sign it, them have to either send it in the mail to me or scan it and send it to me through email. It's just a lot easier, and I can countersign it right in 17 Hats. The great thing about 17 Hats too is that I can go ahead and type up form emails. I have my contract in there. All I have to do is send it over to them. So I could actually include the link to 17 Hats, save me an extra step, click on it, go and figure that all out, and I'm good to go. I could also set up an email in here for sending the contract. So, hey, so-and-so, here's the contract. Here's how to go about, here's all the information I need you to enter into the contract. Please let me know if you have any questions. And then here's another little tip. When you're sending emails and you're going throughout the steps of your process, tell your client what's going to come next. So for the contract, I'm saying, here's the contract. Here's what I need you to do. Let me know if you have any questions. Once you've signed this contract, I'll countersign it, and then I'll send over the invoice for the 50% deposit. So that way they know what's coming next. You're informing them. They've probably never worked with someone like you before, or if they have, the other person's process was probably different. Client communication is huge, and setting expectations is huge. So to make sure you're on the same page, just tell them what's coming next. And again, you could write up an email here. Same thing for the invoice. I do all my invoicing through QuickBooks, so I could add a QuickBooks link here and attach it right here. And then I could also type up an email. For the homework and the welcome guide, so for the invoice, I might say in the email, once you pay the invoice, I'll send over your client homework and welcome guide so you can get started. So for this step, homework and welcome guide, I usually send them a Google Doc of the homework. And I have a master copy for the homework. So I'll show you what this looks like. And Trello lets you link to Google Drive documents. So I can come into Google Drive. I can go into, let's see, master copies. I can choose client homework master copy, select, and it's good to go. Now if I double click it, it'll take me right into the client homework. I can come in and make a copy of the document. I can change some of the information, and I can go right into my questionnaires and send it on to them. Really, really easy. Less work for me to do every single time. So I would suggest you do the same if you have client homework that you're sending over. Not only set it up in a Google Doc, which is just a lot easier, you can both have access to it. You can also check in and see if your client has completed the homework, and they can go in and make edits right up until the project start date. You can also set up an email. That's a common theme if you haven't noticed. And you can have your PDF of the welcome guide ready, and you can just attach it here from your computer. So I would go and find the PDF and attach it there. So everything is ready to go and ready for the email and ready to send over to your client. So I think you get the gist now, but go through after you have written out every single step of your process. Think about what you can do ahead of time to get it out of the way, and go ahead and add it onto the card. Just try to make it as easy as possible on yourself so that as you're running throughout this process time and time again, you have it down pat. Everything is already ready to go. It's going to save you time and a lot of stress in the long run. Even for things, for all of you designers out there, I'm sure photographers, event planners, anyone else tuning into this, you have your own programs that you use. But for my inspiration board, I might even go in and attach my Adobe Illustrator file for an inspiration board template. already sized accordingly, already has the spaces that I need, all of that, ready to go for my inspiration board. And again, it would save me one less step. I won't have to track down an old inspiration board file. Same thing for logo concepts and all of that. So I found this to be extremely helpful. So once you have this set up and you have all the back end things taken care of and you've delegated any tasks that you need to, and actually you can do that by coming in here. Say I wanted my assistant Jenny to respond to inquiries for me. I could add her as a member. So I'm going to look for Jenny. Oops, I haven't added her to the board. I can add Jenny to the board here. More. Oops. It's been a while since I've added Jenny to boards. Private. Okay, let's go back. Add members. Ha, right there at the top. So I would add Jenny. My assistant, add her to the board so she can see all of these, which, by the way, is really helpful if you want to pass any processes off in the future. When I was onboarding my assistant, I gave her access to all of the workflows so that she can see every step of my process too and be familiar with it. If I wanted to assign the inquiry response to Jenny, now I could come into members and just select Jenny. And now she is a member of this board and can respond to inquiries. And you could do that all the way down. The meeting would be me. Now you can see my photo here. Contract, Jenny can send that, and so on. Really helpful. So once you have all of that set up, now you have a better idea of all of the steps involved in your process. But you can take it even one step further. And this is what really helped me with my 2-week process and figure out that I could actually make the 2-week process work. Go in and estimate how much time you think each one of these steps is going to take you. So the inquiry response, probably 2 minutes now that it's all typed up. The meeting, and you could do this up in the title or you could do it in the description, however you want to do it. The meeting is probably 30 minutes. Contract, that one's probably 10 minutes. Just make sure everything is all set up. Invoice, 5 minutes. Homework and welcome guide, 10 minutes now that we have a master copy. Starbucks gift card, that one probably, by the time I check out and do everything, 10 minutes. Another meeting, 30 minutes, and so on. And this gets not only for the administrative tasks that all seem to add up, but also for inspiration board. Usually an inspiration board could take me 2 hours, but I also know that I have a habit of underestimating the amount of time something is going to take me. And so just to be sure, I will go ahead and say 3 hours. And what this does by estimating more time, it makes sure that just in case I go over, I've already accounted for that in my schedule. And I also like to play a little game of how fast can I get this done and get it done well. And so for me, and you'll see in a second, when I know that I'm charging for 3 hours, I know I could probably make more per hour if I got the inspiration board done in 2 hours. So it's a little more motivation. It's a little game that I play. Anything helps. And so I'll just go ahead and say 3 hours there. Revisions for the inspiration board usually don't take me too long, but I'll say 1 hour just in case. Logo concepts, those take me a whole lot longer. Let's just go ahead and say 6 hours. And so on. And you would do that throughout your entire process. What this does is it accounts for every single step of your process, because I don't know about you, but I would look at my packages before and say, oh, I could create a logo and 4 collateral items in, I don't know, and I would take a guess. And then I would pull out this random number for how much I needed to charge. And what ended up happening was that the project would take me so much longer than the time that I accounted for, and I was really only making like minimum wage. So once you have accounted for all of these minutes, go through and find out how much time that whole project is going to take you, factoring in administrative things and meetings and revisions and all of that. Factor how much it's going to take you, and then multiply that by your hourly rate. And when you're working on your hourly rate, keep in mind taxes. So for me, I set aside about 35% of what I make for tax time, which is a sobering amount. And usually I even go to 40% because I'm a little paranoid. So you need to factor that in when you're figuring out how much you need to be making from each project. And the best way that I've found to do that is to factor up all of my time, multiply it by my hourly rate, and that's my package price. And I found it to be extremely effective. So not only do these minutes help you figure out how much you should be charging, but they also help you figure out how much time each project is going to take you, so that when you're scheduling, you have a legitimate number. And I would even say take it as far as actually scheduling these blocks of time in your calendar every time you book a client, and don't schedule anything else over top of it so you can account for that time. Set those boundaries. That'll keep you from working until all hours of the night to meet a deadline. And it'll tell you how many clients you can feasibly take on at once. So for me, I knew that if I was only working with one client at a time and my design package was taking me so many hours, when I scheduled it out in my calendar day by day, I figured out that I could, yes, make it happen in 10 days or 2 weeks. And so that's how I figured it out. So really, that's a simplified version of just streamlining your process. And I know it seems really simple, but I guarantee you it's going to go a long way, not just for your product packages or your service packages, but also for other aspects of your business. So I can show you, and I need to go in and actually flesh some of these out a little bit more in detail, but I'll go back to my Trello boards and go into Ellen Company workflows. And you can see that I've done this for coaching. I've done this for Ellechat. I've done this for design clients, and I've done it for blog posts, and I should truly go in and do it for everything. New library items. I should do it for courses, and I have, but I just don't have it in this document. But you can see I have my inquiry responses all ready to go. I have my invoice response all ready to go. Day of reminders all ready to go. And I've even put notes in there for Jenny as she works through these two. So it's extremely valuable, especially if you want to onboard people later, just to go ahead and think through all of these things, figure out how much time it's going to take you. I'll stop sharing my screen with you at the moment so I can come back here. Yes, I'm looking at the comments. Asana is great too. And I use Asana all the time, but I use Trello as a reference. So then I can go and set up tasks in Asana for each and every step of the process. So yes, I did this on purpose, 30 minutes to answer your questions. I saw so many great questions in here. So feel free, if you've come across any more, to add them in the question section. Remember to vote them up if you want to see them answered. Before we go into all of that, though, I just want to give you a heads up on something. I found this process, not only streamlining the process to be helpful information to share, but I've also found that creatives like ourselves are really, really good at our creative passions. We put a lot of time and effort into honing in on our creative talents and giftings. But when it comes to running a business, it gets really overwhelming. Finding clients, invoicing, what should be in your contracts, who are you trying to appeal to, and how in the world do you appeal to them and get your face in front of them? How much should you be charging? What do you do with a difficult client who says they aren't going to pay you because they don't like what you've come up with? What do you do when a client backs out last minute? All of these things are extremely overwhelming, and we aren't necessarily taught them in school. They're kind of picked up on and learned as you go. And so my next offering, I'm working on an e-course called Freelance Academy, and it tells you how to do all of the business side of your business. And I walk you through simple solutions like this Trello board that I just shared. And so I'm developing it right now, and I haven't come out with all of the details. You all are among some of the first to know. But if you want to know more details, I have a green button. It should be like right here. You can click it and put your email address in there, and I'll let you know all the details as they come out. So I would love for you to check it out. But let's answer some of these awesome questions that keep coming in. So we're going to start with Adrian. Adrian asks, what streamlined process do you implement in building a pipeline of steady work? I've been getting work based on referrals, but would like to be proactive so I can try to avoid these gaps in between projects. That's a great question for steady work, Adrian. I think a lot of it comes through the marketing side of your business. So for me, and I can't stress the importance of this enough, but blogging was huge for me to get myself in front of an audience and get my work in front of an audience. I shared every single project, and I would recommend all of you do this. This was extremely beneficial for me. Blog your work. Any new work that you create, blog it and share step by step through the process so you can demonstrate your expertise, show that you're not just doing pretty work, that there's a reason behind everything that you do. Outline the problem at the beginning and then work through how you solve that problem instead of just putting up great photos in your portfolio, which is important. But every single time I did that, I got inquiries. And so I would recommend going there. And there are a lot more marketing techniques to do, but I would, like I just showed you in Trello, block out how many slots you can take for your design projects. And as you book, put people on hold. You don't have to take everyone on right away. And I found a lot of designers feel the need for this. They have an inquiry and they say, sure, I can take on your project. And they haven't outlined in their calendar how many slots they can take. Clients don't mind waiting. Actually, that puts you in the driver's seat instead of being at your client's beck and call. So for you to say, sure, I would love to work with you. Here are my openings, and make them wait a little while. Client homework will come in a lot more easily when they have weeks or maybe even months to work on the client homework. But I would say schedule out those chunks of time. Start sharing about your work more on social media. Share your expertise on social media and on your blog. Actually, and this is what I've been telling my coaching clients they need to do, think about your ideal audience and reach out to 3 to 5 people who fit inside your ideal audience and reach out to them. And don't try to sell them anything. Just say, I'm trying to develop my process. I'm trying to get more work, and I want to get to know you because you fall in my ideal client category. And I want to get to know you. I want to figure out what your needs are so that I can gear my packages toward what you need. And I would ask them questions like, from a designer standpoint, what are your biggest design needs? What do you think of my package? Is it lacking anything? Is there anything that I could get rid of that really isn't valuable to you? What do you think of my pricing? And just get really detailed. Ask them where they spend their time, what social media platforms they hang out on. Because even though you may think you know where they're hanging out, you may not know. And I'm guilty of that a lot of times. I think I fall into my ideal client category, and I don't always, and I'm not always exactly like my ideal client. So it's good to ask questions and take note. I would start with 3 to 5. You could even go above and beyond that if you want to. But that'll help you start to understand where maybe your packages might be a little bit off, or where you could improve things to get the ball rolling and get more clients. Also, reach out to other designers and ask if you can be a part of their referral list. I know I keep one. I know some of my designer friends keep one. If I can't take a client, I often refer them to someone else. So start networking with other designers, photographers. I don't know exactly what you do, Adrian, but network and figure out how you can get on a referral list too. So I hope some of those tips come in handy for you. Great question. All right. Rachel asks, how do you find your clients? I'm in a Facebook group filled with my potential clients and always respond when someone is looking for logo design, but I wasn't able to land any clients since March. I also rapidly improved my traffic. I'm blogging, growing Pinterest, Instagram, but only have admirers and not clients. So that kind of goes along with what I was just telling Adrienne, Rachel. I think it's great that you're involved in Facebook groups, and I think it's great that you're going after your clients instead of waiting for them to come to you. I would reach out to potential clients and ask all those questions that I just shared with Adrienne. And I would even look at what you're blogging. I don't know exactly what you're blogging, but maybe you need to lengthen your post. Maybe you need to share, maybe you need to narrow your niche even more. I don't know if you're trying to offer too much, but maybe you need to slim down your packages. I know when I first started, I think everybody goes through an experimental phase, and I was trying to offer any and everything, and I wasn't known for anything. I was taking on wedding invitations. I was doing prints. I was doing logos. I would just take on anything. And I think if you were to specialize and really hone in on your packages and start to be known for something, I think that goes a long way. So for me, I have one design package, do a brand, 5 collateral items, and a Squarespace website. I even niched it in further to just Squarespace. So doing that might also be helpful. I think it's also important to note that it takes time and it takes patience. I didn't book clients right off the bat. It took months and months of continuously blogging, content marketing, putting myself out there on social media, reaching out to other designers to collaborate. It didn't happen overnight. It happens over months and months of hard work. So keep at it. It sounds like you're doing a lot of the right things. Great question. I hope that's helpful for you, Rachel. Rachel also asks, did you ever have a client who stopped responding to you or did something which causes passing your 2-week deadline for brand and website design? If yes, how did you handle it? This is another good thing about making clients wait a little while and having a list, or having a waiting list. For me, my clients wait months to work with me, so they know that their 2-week process or their 2-week timeline, if they don't have everything ready for me, I can't do the work. And after those 2 weeks, I'm on to the next client. So for my clients, I think a lot of things happen here that you can do to prevent this from ever happening. Number 1 is to communicate really well with your clients and set expectations at the outset. I actually have in my contract a section for the client's responsibilities and a section for my responsibilities. The client's responsibilities are to pay me on time, to promptly respond, and I make sure to have those in there right at the top. My responsibilities are to turn things over on time. So it protects both of us. But I would have it in your client contract that you both need to adhere to the timelines. And I think also checking in with them on homework, being very upfront on when you need to hear back from them. And also, my clients usually respond too because they have to put down a 50% deposit. So usually when they're paying a good amount of money at the outset, they usually don't cancel on me last minute. They're usually really good at responding. Actually, I found that because I do it in a 2-week window and I'm sending them things often, they're like sitting by their email inbox waiting for a proof. So they actually enjoy getting things. So I think client communication and setting expectations and having it in your contract and setting those boundaries ahead of time will really help you, Rachel. I hope that's helpful. These are great questions. Rachel also said, if you take one client for 2 weeks, do you set another to your waiting list after 2 weeks or have some spaces between clients in case something goes wrong? Yes, buffer time is really important because sometimes something will come up, someone gets sick. We had a pretty quick move last summer and I had a 2-week client and I had a little bit of buffer time. So I did at least a week in between clients so that I could catch my breath if even if things went according to plan, because it's pretty exhausting turning that around so quickly, or just in case something happened and I needed to go over a little bit. So I think that's really important. I was even telling one of my coaching clients this the other day. She said that she has a 1-year-old, so things come up all the time. Babysitter can't come, babysitter's sick, baby's sick. And I said, well, and it kept throwing off her process. And so I said, well, you should account for the interruptions by building in some time, some buffer time. And even if you end up, nothing goes wrong and everything goes according to plan, then you have that buffer time to catch up on projects or take a break. But actually account for that in your schedule. So I think buffer time is really important. And you might want to do that in between clients just in case. Great question, Rachel. Kylie asks, what do you suggest including in the invoices and contracts? Ooh, this is a loaded question. And I'm glad that you said this, Kylie, because I remember you asking in the comments. Invoices. My invoices are pretty bare. I just have how much they owe. I use QuickBooks too, so QuickBooks puts my phone number and address and all that information up there. It allows people to pay through credit card or through their checking account, so it's really simple. And then I just put like 50% deposit or remainder, however I phrase it. Just keep it really simple. Contracts, on the other hand, when I started, I had no idea what I was doing with my contract. I realized I wasn't protecting myself like I needed to, so I worked with a lawyer and made sure that I was covering all of my bases, and he wrote a contract for me. And I actually used the same contract for design work and coaching clients. But what's really helpful is there's a last page, and for some reason, I cannot think of the name of it right now. Statement of work, that's what it is. Statement of work at the end of the contract that I outlined, just like I told you, clients' responsibilities, customers, or my responsibilities, and I outline what our responsibilities are, and I change it depending on who the client is and what the package looks like. But I would suggest either working with a lawyer, or LegalZoom is really great too. And you can go on there and say what you do and make sure that you have all of your bases covered. Contracts aren't necessarily something that you want to create on your own unless you have a legal background and know what you're doing. I wouldn't recommend it. You need a contract, absolutely. You never know what can go wrong. And even if someone seems really, really nice, you just never know. So contracts, I'm definitely no expert when it comes to contracts. Actually, for the Freelance Academy course that I'm launching, I'm actually bringing on a lawyer to talk about all of that stuff because I'm not an expert. But work with a lawyer. LegalZoom is another awesome resource. And I'm sure if you all know of any other resources, you'd be happy to leave them in the comments. You guys are awesome to join in the comments. Okay, great. Let's keep moving through these. Rachel, you have a lot of great questions. Here's another one. What if clients want to work with you ASAP and you're available, let's say, 3 months from now? Do you pass on this client to another designer, or do you have a rush fee? I learned this lesson the hard way. Anytime someone comes to me and says, hi, Lauren, I know you're booked, but I really want to work with you. Anytime I've taken on someone like that, it has been not a good experience because they don't really value my time. And all my other client work gets pushed back. It's not fair to the clients that I already have. I get super stressed. So now I know that it's an easy no if someone messages me, even if it's a really great opportunity that comes my way. I have to stick to my schedule in order to have good boundaries and get enough sleep and sanity. So I do. I either say I'm happy to book you this far out, and because I have now, it's a 3-week process. I'm not taking on as many clients as I did last year. 2-week process worked, but I can take on less clients now and spread out the time, so it's great. So now I say 3-week process. I might be available 3 months from now, but my process only takes 3 weeks, and you know it's going to be ready for you on this day. And so they're usually happy with that. If they're not, like I said, I have my referral list, and I'm happy to send them to other designers. So yes, I hope that's helpful. Okay. What if someone wants to work with you, but they have a low budget? Do you have a list of designers who you recommend? If yes, is there any way to get on that list because I'm struggling to get branding clients for a few months now? Yes. Send me an email, hello@ellencompanydesign.com, contact form. Feel free to email me, but when you email me, make sure you have a link to your portfolio and a link to your services packages. I don't just send people to any designer. I want to make sure it's a good fit. So I want to make sure that if they're looking for just a logo, that you offer just a logo. I don't want to send someone who's looking for just a logo to someone who doesn't offer a la carte design services like a logo. So I'm happy to add you to my referral list. So anybody watching this, go to my contact page, but make sure that you have a link to your most recent work and a link to your service packages. All right. Michaela asks, what do you say during the inquiry call? Do you tell them about your design process, ask questions about the project, and give them time to ask any questions they might have? How do you lead the call? Do you give the price during the call or afterwards in an estimate? Do you close the deal during the call or give them time to think? Great question. I actually have all of my pricing on my website. And I know this doesn't necessarily work for everybody. It's different for everyone. But for me, I wanted to make sure the people who were inquiring were ready to work with me. So I went ahead and put my pricing on there. If it scares some people away, that's okay. And I know that every inquiry I get, usually they've already seen my services page and they're ready to work with me. But there are some people who email me and say, before I book, I want to talk to you and just get to ask you some questions about your packages. And so I jump on that initial meeting and just to get to know them and hear more about their business and what they're looking for. So usually when I hop on the call, it's probably about 30 minutes. I like to do it over Skype rather than a phone call because I feel like this is a lot more personal than just a phone call. I like seeing their face. And so I start the call by asking them about themselves. For me, I'm working with people who want to brand in a website, so they usually have a business. So I start out by asking about their business, asking them what their goals are, what's not working with their brand and website right now, what are their goals, where do they hope to be 5 years from now, I just ask them questions and get to know them. Then I ask them if they have any questions about my design package because I've already emailed them and said, make sure you take a look at my design package on my website. And they'll usually ask me questions and I answer questions about it. I actually walk them through my process step by step, just like I just shared with you in Trello, to give them a good idea of what to expect and what the deliverables will be. And then usually by the end of the call, if they need more time to think about it, then I say, it's great talking to you. I hope we get to work together. I follow up in an email and just say, it was great talking to you. Please let me know if you have any other questions and you'd like to move forward. So just really informal. For me, and I wrote a blog post on this today, my mission is to help people. I think sales are a whole lot easier because you have to sell. You're a business. You need to make money. But I feel like it's a lot less sleazy and a lot easier for people to say yes if you have their best interest at heart. So for me, I approach that call with, how can I help you? What are your design needs? What are you struggling with? Here's a look at my package. Let me know if you have any questions. Here's how my package is going to help you. Here are the reasons that I've built all of these things in. That's a whole lot more authentic and a lot easier to sell than coming in with a pitch. So I don't have any pitch. I don't have anything to hide. I put my prices out there and they just come ready with questions and usually book, which is great. So I hope that answers your question, Michaela. Great question. All right. Sarah says, what are some of the main topics you like to cover in onboarding? Do you onboard in document form or through email? How do you make the client special during onboarding? I love that question. That's great. And that's something that I've been trying to work through as well. When I onboard a client, after, like you saw, they sign the contract, they put down the invoice, I send them that email with with the client homework, and actually I've already talked about the client homework and all the ins and outs of that in the initial meeting that I just talked about. And then the welcome document is also helpful. Just a PDF of what all the process looks like, what they can expect. You can make it your own, and just give them an overview of what the whole process is going to look like. I think also just throughout the process, like the Starbucks gift card, or maybe you send them a package in the mail, just to think of something thoughtful that's going to surprise them that they didn't necessarily know about, that you've already built into your process, but is a surprise to them. I would also love to hear what you all do to onboard clients, because I feel like this is an area that probably I could improve on. So feel free to add that into the comments as well for any of you who have other ideas. But I think just being really thoughtful, being available for people when they do have questions, making them, your clients, the first priority, and checking in on them, surprising them. And I think more than anything, just doing really good work. I love that quote, and I don't even know who came up with it, but I hear it all the time: under promise and over deliver. So make your package seem really good and be honest about it, but build in those extras and go above and beyond to make sure that your clients are well taken care of, because really your clients are the best referrals. So if you do a job well done and someone really enjoyed working with you, they're probably going to recommend you time and time again, and you'll get new clients that way too. At least good testimonials for your website. All right, I'll try to answer 2 more. I'll be speedy. Lindsay says, do you ever have clients back out before a project begins when you're booked in advance? I always fear that if I can't start right away, then the client will cool off and end up going with someone else before I can get to their project, especially if it's several months away. If so, do you move up the next client in the lineup, or do you keep their slot the same and fill the open slot with a totally new client? I think there are some ways to safeguard this. I think it's good to have waiting time. I think it's good for clients to sit with your client homework and prepare for your time together. And I think that wait provides some anticipation. I know for my clients, they get so excited when their time slot comes up, because they know that those 2 weeks or now 3 weeks are theirs, and they get my sole attention and focus. So I think the waiting time is good, and I don't think you have to worry about that if you have a deposit. Make sure that you're taking a 50% non-refundable deposit, maybe 25% depending on what you're charging. Usually if people put the money down, they're going to want to work with you. They aren't going to want to waste that money. And if they're not afraid to put the deposit down, if the deposit is really small, you might need to increase your prices to get them to take you more seriously. And not always be out for a deal. I know as a designer, I want people to want to work with me. I want them to see the value in design. And if I'm charging way too low, they probably aren't going to value me. I also want to make sure I'm doing really good work and that the client process is really great. But I think pricing reflects value in a sense too. So make sure you're doing the deposits. I think that's really important. And if for some reason a client would back off or would back out rather, I wouldn't move the next client up. I don't think that client necessarily needs to know that somebody else backed out on me. And I think they've already planned for that in their calendar. And for me, it might mean that I can catch up on other things. So leave your schedule as it is, but don't fear people backing off. Leave a really good first impression with them through your client meeting, and require that deposit. But I hope that's helpful for you, Lindsay. Great question. Naomi says, what affordable CRM would you recommend? So this is in terms of client management. I use Asana, and I know we're coming up on the hour, so I'll be quick. Maybe I'll have to do a blog post on this, but I use Trello to keep up with workflows and content ideas and brainstorms, and even Jake and I meal plan on Trello. It's awesome. Keep up with workouts and all sorts of things. It's awesome. But Asana is really great for assigning tasks and just having a running to-do list. And I have a project for each client built into Asana. So maybe I'll do a blog post on that soon, or maybe a webinar if you all would be interested in that. I can make that an upcoming Ellechat. But Asana is free. I'm all about these free apps, Trello, Asana. So yes, I would highly recommend it. Great question, Naomi. I'm happy to see you in here too. All right. It is 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time already. I really hope that this Ellechat was beneficial for you and that you were able to take a lot away from it. I'm really grateful that you all tune in week after week. And I'm really excited to have Megan Minns on next week to talk about ConvertKit and getting started with it. I transferred over to ConvertKit from MailChimp a couple months ago, and I was really scared to make the leap. But it's really been a great decision for my business, and I'm excited. Megan is kind of a pro when it comes to ConvertKit. She's who I went to her blog to figure out how I should transfer everything over. So I'm really excited to have her on. So if you guys are interested in signing up for that, I think my face is somewhere on here. You can click on it and go back to my account, and you can see all of the Elechats that I've done. You can go ahead and register for the upcoming one. And cool thing, just real quick, you can now follow people on Crowdcast. So if you enjoy following along with these Elechats and you want to know when the next one is, follow me on Crowdcast and you'll be updated every time. It's awesome. And remember that if you're interested in Freelance Academy, you can follow that link and I will send you all the details in the upcoming weeks. I'm really, really excited about it. I have a lot of valuable information to share with you all to try to make the business side of business or creative business a lot easier on you. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you again for tuning in, and I hope to see you next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See you later.